Eyewitness says no warning about steel bars being lifted during yesterday's Yamate construction site accident. Good evening, this is TVB News. Metal bars fell from a height while being lifted at a construction site in Yamate yesterday, leaving 4 workers injured. One of them remains in critical condition. An eyewitness at the construction site revealed that no one had warned them about any lifting operations at the time of the mishap. Secretary for Labor and Welfare Chris Sun has vowed to follow up the case. Sharon Tang reports.
The mishap occurred at a construction site related to the Central Kowloon Route project on Saturday. It's located at the intersection of Ferry Street and Kansu Street in Yamate. Steel bars were being lifted and supposed to be dropped off at a spot 15 meters below ground. But during the process, the cable of the crane snapped, causing about 20 metal bars to fall from height. Sources say the bars weigh more than a ton. 4 construction workers aged between 28 and 41 who were working underneath at the time were injured. A 31-year-old worker remains in critical condition, and according to a workers' rights union, the father of 2 is the breadwinner of the family. The condition of a 28-year-old worker was said to be serious. 2 other workers who suffered less serious injuries have been discharged from hospital. An eyewitness of the mishap told TVB News that the 4 injured workers were tasked to move steel rods underground on Saturday afternoon, but none of them were told that a crane would be lifting metal bars at the time. Then a loud bang. The metal bars tilted and fell from height, hitting 4 workers below. The eyewitness also told us that workers on the ground level would normally remind colleagues working underground to stay at least 2 meters away from the crane area. Secretary for Labor and Welfare Chris Sun noted there are clear guidelines on lifting operations. He added authorities will strictly follow up the case, and any violation of the Occupational Safety and Health Ordinance will be seriously dealt with. Sun also said the Labour Department will step up inspections of work sites. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
This year's harbour race kicked off this morning with 4,000 spots available. It marks the largest scale of the race since 2011, while allowing swimmers from the Greater Bay Area to participate for the first time. In the end, more than 2,800 swimmers joined the race, and 26 people reported feeling unwell. Sharon Tang again.
Chief Secretary for Administration Eric Chan officiated the opening of the race. About 300 participants took part in the contest category, dipping into the water at 7:30 a.m. Some 3,700 people applied for the leisure category. This participant said it's a special feeling and it's rare to be able to swim in Victoria Harbour with no vessels passing by. The route of this year's race is similar to that last year, with swimmers starting off from the public pier in Wan Chai and the Avenue of Stars in Tsim Sha Tsui being the destination. Still, some were unable to complete the 1-kilometer swim. Hong Kong China Swimming Association said there are originally 4,000 people who applied for the race this year, but some were unable to take part because of a typhoon and others couldn't pass the test. The group also announced an international tournament will be held next year, and it will send invitations to more than 200 countries so that interested contestants can join a 3-day swim race in Repulse Bay. Meanwhile, for the first time, a large playground was set up on 2 barges along the harbourfront right next to the destination. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
A primary school subject, General Studies, will be split up as Humanities and Science starting next year and will include elements of patriotic education. Speaking to TVB News, the city's education chief, Christine Choi, expects the teaching hours for patriotic education to go up only slightly. The new change comes as the mainland has passed the Patriotic Education Law, and the SAR administration has set up multiple measures to cope with the move. Choi noted the aim is to strengthen students' sense of belonging. She is not ruling out having Beijing officials coming to Hong Kong to teach national security knowledge. The governor of Japanese prefecture of Okinawa, Denny Tamaki, is going on a 3-day visit to Taiwan starting on the 23rd of the month. The Chinese embassy in Tokyo has repeated Beijing's opposition to any official dealings between authorities in Japan and Taiwan. After Tamaki announced that he will visit Taiwan later this month, a Chinese embassy spokesman said Japan should abide by the principles of the 4 political documents and solemn commitments made on the Taiwan issue. The spokesman added that Japan should avoid sending the wrong signals to, quote, Taiwan independence forces. In July this year, Tamaki paid a visit to Beijing along with a trade delegation and had talks with Premier Li Chang. The Okinawa governor said on Friday that during his forthcoming trip to Taiwan, he will only meet with people from the economic sector and there will be no contact with government officials. Pro-Palestine rallies are taking place around the world over the weekend amid increasing concerns over the toll Israel's war with Hamas is taking on civilians in Gaza. Daniel Rao tells us more.
Hundreds of people took part in a pro-Palestinian rally in Australia's biggest city, Sydney, on Sunday. Protesters waved Palestinian flags and chanted "Long live Gaza" and "Palestine will never die," while denouncing Israel's actions in Gaza. This comes as Australia's foreign minister called for steps to be taken towards a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war.
I am deeply concerned by the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, as are so many in the world, and by the loss of life. And I'm deeply concerned, as others are. What I would say is we all want to take the next steps towards a ceasefire, but it cannot be one-sided. Hamas still holds hostages. Hamas is still attacking Israel.
Pro-Israel supporters also gathered in Sydney to show their support for Israel and call for the release of hostages being held by Hamas.
Ceasefire now!
In the US, hundreds of demonstrators waved Palestinian flags and chanted "ceasefire now" near the Delaware home of US President Joe Biden on Saturday. Biden arrived in his home state on Saturday afternoon after participating in events marking the US Veterans Day earlier in the day. Biden's motorcade did not pass by the demonstration, which was staged on the side of a major road near the president's home. Elsewhere, London saw its largest pro-Palestinian march since the start of the latest Israel-Hamas conflict. Police estimated that some 30,000 people took part, making their way through the city from Hyde Park to the US Embassy about 5 kilometers away. The day unfolded amid a backdrop of tensions following comments by British Home Secretary Suella Braverman. Earlier this week, Braverman characterised pro-Palestinian demonstrations as hate marches and called for Saturday's event to be blocked out of respect for Armistice Day events marking the end of World War I. Skirmishes between police and counter-protesters carrying the Union flag of Great Britain and the red and white flag of England were reported. London police arrested 82 people at one location to prevent a breach of the peace. There were tensions too in Spain as police in Barcelona briefly clashed with about 2,000 pro-Palestinian protesters who stormed and momentarily occupied a commuter train station. Police briefly used batons to kick some of the protesters, but quickly resorted to talking to them amid passengers on the way to and from commuter trains. After around 1 hour, the protesters agreed to abandon the station. Daniel Rao, TV News.
Arab and Muslim leaders called for an immediate ceasefire. A joint statement from 57 countries also said Israel should be investigated for war crimes after they held emergency talks in Saudi Arabia. The emergency meeting of the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation was attended by dozens of leaders, including Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi, and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The extraordinary Joint Islamic Arab Summit was chaired by Saudi Arabia, who said they, quote, condemn and reject the barbaric war against our brothers in Palestine.
I think there is a unification in the Arabic position. We might see some differences, but the compass always go to north. So the direction of all the Arabs and the Muslim in the summit will be stopping the war, stopping the crimes. Let's have a truce, then a ceasefire, then let's manage the humanitarian aid.
Still ahead, in Iceland, thousands of people evacuated amid fears of a volcanic eruption. and the first live Bollywood musical at the Shichu Center. Welcome back to TVB News. Iceland is evacuating thousands of people as a volcano eruption is expected at any moment. A state of emergency has been declared in the southwest of the island. Police ordered residents to leave the fishing village of Grindavik. Monitoring indicates a corridor of semi-molten rock extends directly under the community. Recent seismic activity has caused damage to homes and increased the likelihood of an eruption. This could well be repercussions beyond Iceland. In 2010, an explosion from a volcano created massive disruption to air travel, canceling 100,000 flights. Hong Kong's landmark Chinese opera center, Shichu Center, is home to much more than the traditional Chinese performance. A dance production team based in India performed the first live Bollywood musical at the center last month as part of the city's annual India by the Bay Festival. Timothy Lee spoke with members of the troupe to find out more about how they blended the dance cultures of India and Hong Kong.
Vibrant colors equally matched by explosive dance moves, giant puppets, and ferocious drumming. Members of India's Teamwork Arts production were in Hong Kong to perform the very first Bollywood show in the city as part of the annual India by the Bay Festival, which has celebrated Indian culture in the SAR since 2015. Director Sanjoy Roy noted his troupe previously performed on the mainland.
So Bollywood Love Story, the earlier versions of this have been to Shanghai and Beijing and Nanjing and many different places, and we were always amazed at the kind of response, totally sold out shows, big screens outside in the piazza for people to watch. It was really quite amazing to see how much Bollywood is so popular here.
Roy also explained why he thinks his play can break cultural barriers.
I think genres like Bollywood, big song and dance, great fight sequences, lots of action, they cross languages. Our whole effort is to use the arts to transcend international boundaries, to transcend the divisions between people and allow each side to understand the other through their tradition, through their culture, so that by doing that and by pushing back on ignorance, you push back on hatred.
And celebration!
Besides Indians, Frenchman Gilles Churien serves as the group's choreographer. He shared why his passion for Indian culture drove him to stay in India as a dance instructor.
So the training happened first in the south of France when I was a kid, but I had a great fascination towards Asia because I'm a quarter Vietnamese, and I started to read a lot about Hindu philosophy. So I managed to get a scholarship, and I went for my PhD in political science in India. And over there, I decided to explore different dance vocabularies.
He added that Bollywood dances are unique for their physical expressions and are a universal language that everyone can learn. The group holds regular tours in countries such as China, Germany, and the UK, emphasizing the message of global unity through music and dance.
Male guests attending Indian weddings would typically wear a colorful embroidered scarf like this on top of a traditional outfit known as the shawani. Besides a Bollywood love story, other events held during the India by the Bay Festival include celebrations of Indian cuisine, literature, and wellness. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Disabled individuals and their carers can enjoy free public transport today. The benefit is to show support to the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Passengers who present a personalized octopus card with persons with disability status can get free rides on different types of transport, including the MTR and MTR buses. Those with a registration card for people with disabilities, meanwhile, can take buses, trams, and ferries for free. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Calvin Young said the government will review the problems that disrupted the start of the FIA World Rallycross Championship on Saturday. Fans returned on Sunday for more high-speed action. Mimosingai reports.
On the final day of the city's first ever FIA World Rallycross Championship, crowds were seen at the central promenade. Families and friends enjoying a sporting day out. This man enjoyed the atmosphere. However, he says some improvements can be made. I wish they did not put up the high fences because I wanted to take better pictures. The high fences reduced visibility, he said. Some debates and disappointments were created on Saturday, the first day of the race, when a reduced racing track and schedule was implemented due to construction delays. This man says the races are exciting. I think hosting the championship in Central is more special than hosting it in the rural areas, he said. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Calvin Young said he understands the disappointment of the audience regarding the shortened schedule of the championship. Young said the government will discuss and review the issues. Chief Consultant of World RX Management, Wesley Wan, said the rearrangements were due to delayed shipments of construction materials. When asked why organizers picked Central, Wan said they believed it to be the best place to promote Hong Kong. Members 9, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.